Hello everyone, we got some really exciting news regarding Scara that just came out. So in this video, we're gonna go over all the speculation and the sussy leaks for his release date and potential boss fight. Every leaker that we're going over today, while they might have some differences in what patch his banner is going out in, everyone agrees that he is going to release sometime during Sumeru. Now, once we go over that, I'm going to share my thoughts about everyone's claims and connect it to this story to find out how his banner might play out and which one of these leakers seems to have the most likely date for his banner. Now we're going to start off with some of the less popular leakers, I guess is the best word for it, and then end with like the more reliable ones and what information came out today, just so we can get an idea of where everyone's head is at and kind of piece it together. So the first person, Uncle Fish Touching, said that Scara is going to be one of the male characters that are going to be released during Sumeru, with the potential of another Fatui Harbinger. Now that's a really vague post, so let's get into more of the specific ones here. So as far as release date, we have Mr. X, who is actually going to claim that he's a main DPS who's using transformative reactions, whatever that might mean. He doesn't think that the banner is going to happen until the Genshin anniversary, which we know is at the end of September, early October when they start celebrating it. So if that's the case, 3.0 is supposed to drop on September 23rd, and then 3.1 would be November 4th. So this would mean that this person is saying that Scara is going to be dropping in 3.1. Now, another leaker, Uncle A, claims that he'll be playable around the end of Sumeru. But honestly, it's a little unclear what they meant by the end of Sumeru. Do they mean like the end of the 3.0 patches, or do they mean the end of the Archon quest, which will probably end in the earlier patches? I'm honestly leaning more toward the early patches, and this being like the end of the Archon quest honestly just makes more sense story-wise for us to get his resolution sooner rather than later, but we'll get into the story bit a little later. Now, finally, we have the leaker that I trust the most out of all of this, because I just think that they have a really good track record so far. And basically, Uncle DD said back in April that Scara was going to be the weekly boss in 3.0. But today, and the whole reason I am making this video right now, he said that he's going to be playable in 3.2. So like I said before, November 4th is 3.1. So by the end of December, we will be seeing 3.2. And when I think of like December, I kind of think of Genshin gearing up for New Year's. And to be honest, I can't imagine them running an Inazuma banner near New Year's. But perhaps because the initial timeline got pushed back, maybe we could see those Liyue characters take up the second half of 3.2 and then the first half of 3.3 or something. I don't know, we'll kind of see what happens there, but for the most part, all of these leakers seem to have the same general time frame in mind for his release happening at the beginning of Sumeru. Now for my thoughts, honestly, I think that makes a lot of sense. We just had the Iridori Festival in 2.6, where things seem to be picking up with his storyline. We heard from Ayato that he's fled Inazuma, and we've heard from Kazuha that he's interested in hiring someone to help track him down. So from what we know about 2.8, Kazuha is getting a story quest, and we're also going to get introduced to that new 4-star character whose role in Inazuma happens to be detective work. So there might be some crossover for the Anima boys as it relates to hunting down Scara. Perhaps because the main story of 2.8 also involves revisiting the GAA with Kazuha, that we embark on a journey with him to find Scara, and eventually, ultimately leads us to Sumeru, which will be the next patch after 2.8. So I could definitely see the story headed in that direction, and it would make sense to keep up this momentum that Hoyoverse has established in 2.6. I'm assuming if Scara does end up being a weekly boss, that there could be various ways that this comes about. So one would be earlier this fall, like in 2.2, we met with Child in Inazuma, who told us that Scara took off with the Gnosis and essentially left the Fatui. And we also know from the Husk artifact set that Scara tried to use the Gnosis as a heart. It's actually pretty sad if you haven't read the lore yet. I'll put some up on the screen for you, but essentially the Gnosis leaves him feeling empty inside. So I can perhaps see us in conflict with him, trying to obtain the Gnosis, though it's really hard to gauge how the Traveler wants to get involved with this. I think the most digestible response would be getting the Gnosis back and giving it to Miko or something, since A clearly does not want it. I don't feel like we're at a place in the story where we're gonna be handing over a Gnosis to the Fatui, even though Child's kinda implied that we must make a choice soon, but we'll kind of see what happens there. Another option is, of course, Kazuha and Scara hashing it out and you coming in to help your friend. Other than that, it could, of course, be a new Sumeru specific storyline that perhaps involves additional harbingers that we can't really speculate on yet because we don't really have much information. No matter what happens, though, you and Scara are gonna have to find some common ground in order for him to be playable. Does get this boss fight in 3.1, then there needs to be some immediate resolve in 3.2 if that's when his banner is planned to release. Again, like I said, I think Uncle Didi is the most reliable out of all of them, so I'm more inclined to go toward what he's saying than as opposed to the other leakers that I mentioned earlier in the video. But that's basically it for now. So let me know down in the comments what you think. When do you think Scara is coming, and how do you think his banner is going to play into this story? I would love to hear it. As always, if you like this video, subscribe for more Genshin content, and I will see you in the next one.